This is the call I placed to Sam Seder in 2022. So this was 3 years ago. And it's I always find it's funny how he reacts when I tell him about hitting myself in the eye with a piece of wood, or a piece of wood bouncing off my eyeball, a little small piece.
Decided to use a little piece of scrap from the garbage. It was the closest hard thing near me, and I was just hammering away on it. And all of a sudden, I felt a small piece of wood bounce off my eyeball.
Oy.
It launched right up. It just hit the eyeball, like just right into it. I felt a little tickle of something for like a day after that, but I dodged it. I dodged a bullet very, very luckily. It just kind of just barely touched. But I didn't have my glasses on, and I usually do, and they were on my hat.
I always have my glasses on.
What a reminder to.
I mean, because I can't see without them, so I have that covered. And then sometimes I'll wear goggles if I'm doing, something else. And I also wear a mask when I'm sanding.
Super important. Yeah, you should. You definitely should. That dust will get in there, and then there's no getting out.
Yep.
It's that's good stuff.
All right. Appreciate the call.
That's you guys doing great. Yeah, Thanks. I'll call back. We'll talk woodworking if that's cool with you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Find out what that craft oil is.
Hell yeah.
It's a trade secret.
Yeah,
they won't tell about it. They're very, very quiet about that.
I like that I told him about some of the professional woodworking I had done and stuff. You can tell by the mallet. I want to call Sam and suggest that he build a mallet, something like that. Not necessarily precisely, but like build his own mallet, and it'd be a fun project. It's beginner to intermediate type of stuff. So that was 3 years ago. And then I got lucky enough to call back again. This was after things had sort of popped off on Twitter and, within the drama sphere. This is February 4th, 2025. So in the weeks before this, there had been a lot of back and forth on Twitter within the, between Anna and Emma, and Sam and Anna had claimed that Kamala Harris was advertising on Majority Report that they had received money from the Harris campaign, and then Sam answered saying that's like 1,000% not true. Stuff like that had been going on, and so I tweeted out about that woodworking call that we just watched, and that I would like to call in and talk woodworking with Sam again, as well as maybe tell him about the union at TYT. So this is going to be me seeing this for the first time. Vanguard did a tweet or did a video on it. They played it on their stream and they posted it on one of their channels. They have two channels, their main one and Casa del Vanguard, I think it's called. And so there's a video of this up there somewhere, but this is my first time actually watching them react to it. I go long. I'm too long-winded. I get excited. I don't realize I go into like a fugue state. I'm in one right now. And so I wasn't able to really like temper myself. But then when I heard it back on the Vanguard, I was like, it was fine. I did fine. I'm a little bit too much talky, but I got to work on getting right to the point, as I'm sure you're agreeing exactly. So here's this. Very excited. I'm feeling a little nervous. Not nervous, but more like anxious, anticipating. I feel vulnerable. I feel a little bit vulnerable right now, but let's just hit play.
It's impossible to tell the Republicans and Democrats apart. All right, let's go to the phones.
Out of context. I don't know what he said to get up to that.
Calling from a 424 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Hank in Los Angeles.
Hank in Los Angeles. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, guys? Sam, you and I talked a few years ago about woodworking.
I just think I saw you tweet that or something.
Oh, hey, Hank. How are you?
Hey, it was nice to see. I told you I'd call back. I finally found out about that oil that you asked me to look into, so I'm just updating you on that.
Wait, what was that? Because all I saw from that clip was that like a piece of wood went into your eye.
Oh, no.
Yes, it was fun. I got to see your face there, and sorry about that. I didn't realize how painful it felt. Made everybody else feel. Yeah, it was just a safety tip. I had injured myself slightly, and I just wanted to share that with you. But and then you asked about like the bespoke cutting boards I was building, and woodworkers are very generous with tips. So I was hoping to sort of start that conversation and maybe call back and get back into it and stuff. But I had another topic. I was actually part of the Young Turks unionizing drive, and you guys might not have realized that I was.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Well, I had no idea.
Well, yeah. I know now, but I was in New York, Hank, so I was a little removed from this. I found out a lot of these things about a lot of this stuff later.
It hung up.
Hank? Hank?
Yeah. So I don't know what happened. I might have done it myself. I have no idea. But it just, as soon as I said unionizing drive, before she started talking, it just hung up. I'm using a Google Voice number, and it just went away. Like, yeah, really annoying.
There.
Oh no, we lost him.
We lost him.
Shit.
Oh crap. That's weird.
Hang on.
The deep state.
Polymarket.
If you call back in, we'll.
Did he call on the Polymarket hotline? That was probably the mistake.
See, I haven't seen this yet. So then to take another call here.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We'll take another call, and hopefully we'll get him to call back. Let's see here. Calling from a 626 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from? I don't know if I ever got that oil. Yep.
Holy cow, is that me?
Yeah, 626.
Hi. Okay, sorry about that. I'm a little nervous. First time, long time. So I'm in I'm
name?
Sonoran Clown. Sorry, I'm Sonoran Clown on Twitch.
Economic support would go a long way to creating more of an equilibrium, so there isn't this sense that you know, you need to leave your country so that your family is safe or your family can eat. All right, let's go back to. We have 424. Is that Hank back?
Hank's back. Interesting. I probably fast forward that in the final podcast here. So, all right, here we go. I finally was able to call back. I just panicked and just started calling, and yeah, finally I was able to connect, and it was nice of them to take me back on. So yeah, okay.
Is this Hank?
Hello,
Hey.
it's Hank.
Sorry, we lost you
I'm here.
earlier. Yeah, what happened?
I don't know. I don't know. Incompetence, probably.
All right, fair.
I must
What
have
was
clicked the
the
button. I
oil?
didn't mean
Did you
to.
tell
Yeah,
me
I
what
don't
the
know.
oil was last time?
Yeah, it's a super expensive. I sent you guys an email, but it's a really expensive. It's like $180 a liter type of oil that we. It's an email. I don't want to say it publicly because these are industry trade secrets. We got to protect
Okay.
the IP.
Everyone's
That's not the right way of saying that,
woodworking
but
so seriously.
I did email.
All right,
Yeah.
Well, check that out.
I'd love to call back some other time and we could get
What
into
did
it
you
though
put in
because
the
I love
subject?
chatting woodworking.
What did you put in the subject?
Hank and oil,
Okay, I will look for that.
craft oil.
All right,
Yeah,
craft oil.
All right.
that should get you there. You search
Okay.
for that. Yeah,
So this is it. Union.
awesome.
So what
Nice
did you want to talk
to you guys. Oh yeah, so yeah, you know, I've actually been a listener of yours since mid O's zeros, and kind of back when I started listening to TYT and the Air America days, sort of. And so I ended up working for the Young Turks starting in 2013 and worked off and on between 2013 and 2020. So I was part of the unionizing drive that occurred in 2019, which there's a lot of misinformation and confusion about. Regarding what happened, largely from the communications that Jank and Anna put out around the time. So since then, my working conditions were central to why we unionized in 2019. And I just wanted to kind of, you know, with all the stuff that's going on online, and I've been making a film documentary about what went down called Tell the Truth, Jank. So there's kind of a lot going on with this story right here, and I don't know how much time you want me to take up, but I just, you know, thought I'd try to connect with you guys and fill in some of the gaps because what TYT's audience was told about how and why the union started was not true at all. And Cenk actually just recently this week was on another show, the Generational Change podcast, saying the doubling down on the smear. Honestly, it was really weird and insulting for him to like tell the audience that the union was originated by outsiders in order to harm his run for Congress. So yeah, I'm jumping around a bit. So
Well, why don't you
kind of
just
wacky.
Cliff Notes
I don't want to go.
version,
Yeah, give us the Cliff Notes. I don't want to spend too much time
Sure.
on this because, you know, obviously a lot going
doubt.
on in the news. But
It's
go ahead.
there's so much more important stuff in the world, and the film is intended as like a service to the labor movement, as an educational project. You know, it's not just about settling a beef. It's about like using Jank's clumsy capitalism to illustrate things that workers need to raise their consciousness about, and fundamentally it's about leverage. You know, about why we need to use collective bargaining.
So I definitely didn't give them the Cliff's Notes that they're asking for as soon as they wanted it.
Stop the bosses from destroying the planet, essentially. Not that Jank's the only boss that's destroying the planet, but system we have clearly is not working for anybody.
Good thinking. Get to the point, dude. That's not the...
Except for a tiny bit. But anyway, so yeah, a little background. And I also want to just be really clear that I am not speaking for the union. I didn't make it into the union. I was laid off about a month before they came forward. So I just don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to represent the Young Turks union. They're on Twitter, TYT union. Go follow them. Just quick background. I worked at TYT starting in 2013, and then I was also on the Jimmy Dore show in 2016. So you might recognize my voice. I was before the cameras came on, so I was before the Ron Placone era, if you'll recall. In fact, Sam, when you mentioned that clip where Jimmy posts about Hillary's Parkinson's, like I was the guy that like tagged and titled that one. So I've been in this world for yeah, for quite a while. In fact, I remember seeing you once at TYT. By the way, taller than I expected. By the way. Always a nice bonus.
All right, flex on him. But Hank, Cliff Notes.
Just get to the point, Hank. I gotta get better about it.
Cliff Notes. Oh, sorry. That's just okay.
Keep going.
So the union actually originated 18 months before Cenk became a politician, and the story that they put out is that the fact that IATSE, the union we were joining, endorsed Cenk in that campaign. Is the reason why the union started. So there's a major discrepancy between the timelines here. And I'm positing the theory that the thesis that the reasons that they weren't honest about why the union started is it because it would invite scrutiny of Cenk's employment practices. Like a very natural question to why did, a union showed up. Okay, well, why did they unionize? The answers to that question would show like exploitative working conditions. In my case, and just so people know, I have all the receipts posted on my Substack. I have done a ton of work on this project. But in my case, when I was hired, I was brought back as a full-time video editor. I was made an independent contractor and worked for zero benefits as well as was the lowest paid editor in the company at like around $21 an hour. After asking for help, like constantly requesting, hey, can we fix this? Can we fix this? Also just keeping my head down and doing my job, as it just, you can only complain so much. They switched my classification from independent contractor to part-time and still got zero benefits. And that's around the time when we woke up the union drive in order to try to do something about this, because clearly management wasn't interested in my interests, and my friends and I, they had their own reasons as well. There was other reasons,
was this
but
when,
people didn't like.
What was the time?
I need to be clear that you know this because you're watching. You're already up on my shit. But I was working 40-hour weeks while I was part-time. So when I tell that story, if I get more opportunities to tell that story, and I hope I do, I need to make sure when I bring up the part-time, it's very important that I also follow that with while working 40-hour weeks. That's the thing. It's TYT's threshold for part-time is 30 hours. I have documentation showing that on balldontheinside.substack.com. Look in the description for links. And so, because I think when people hear part-time, they think, oh, well, that means you probably worked part-time. And it's like, I'm not sure if that's what they thought, but it wouldn't be unreasonable to think that hearing that story. So yeah, we'll see. I'm doing fine. I mean, and I talk fast and I say a lot, and I tend to, I picture myself as like a skier in the air trying to keep upright. And then when I can't keep up with my thoughts fast enough, I start to tumble forward and I start to like kind of, skidoodle. Is that the right? And then land on a passerby, a bystander. There's no passerbys on a mountain. They're all bystanders. Okay. See,
was the big investment from whoever it was,
the Quibi guy,
Katzenberg.
When did that happen relative to what you're talking about?
I think that was around 2016, 2017, if I recall. There was the initial union attempt, as was documented in the Politico article that was written. By the way, there's like 4 articles about this that are really thorough. I recommend people look those up. I can provide links on my Twitter. That was near the tail end of sort of like TYT got all that money and then expanded, and then I think they might have overshot a little bit. And then I think they were during their contraction, they had a round of firings, and that round of firings in summer of 2018 scared off the first union attempt. They got intimidated. It just felt too intense for them to try it. And I wasn't there for that union attempt, but it was for a different set of employment conditions that needed dealing with. Then I came back to the company the end of that year. They were familiar with my work. I live close by. I asked if, and so I came back in, and immediately was just like, it was just a massive ethical boundary, like a completely disrespectful working conditions to like call you an independent contractor while you're sitting next to people who are called employees.
Right.
They get benefits, you don't. They get days off, you don't. And then the major twist of the disrespect knife was when I asked for help, like, hey, is this a mistake? Can we fix this? What's going on here? Aren't you guys worried about your brand? Like, this is stupid. Don't you have self-preservation? You know you're Cenk Uygur, right? The answer was, we'll make you part-time. And I still worked 40-hour weeks. I wasn't working part-time hours. I was working 40-hour weeks, called part-time for zero benefits. And then after 12 months of full-time work, I did get hired for the third time.
I'm going to put that at the beginning of the video.
I'm doing air quotes around hired for the third time. Then at that point, I finally did get benefits. I got my first payday off. But by that point, we were deep into the second attempt to unionize. And then Cenk goes and runs for Congress and surprised everybody. And that adds a lot of detail to this whole story. So the film is kind of an unofficial documentary about his campaign.
Interesting.
And yeah, I've done a lot of work on it.
I should have mentioned that he's in it. I didn't say that. That's something I've been thinking about a bunch last few weeks. Is just like I should have told him, and you're in it, dude. You should watch it. You're in it. Because asking someone to watch 90 minutes of a movie, 84 minutes in the description, is a huge ask. I'm confident that the editing is so good, the storytelling quality is high, that once you start watching it, don't do it while you're super distracted, but give it a proper watch. But don't sit down thinking you're going to waste the time. Like, I don't know if I have time for this. You'll get carried away by it. Obviously, it won't work for everybody, but it's that 84 minutes is 2 years of work. It took me 2 years to make those 84 minutes, and I put every single bit of skill, storytelling skill, editorial decision, and I went out of my way to doing a tremendous amount of research to try to cross my T's and dot my I's. I said I needed mental health care breaks. If you include the breaks, it's like 3 or 4 years of time and stuff, but it's like 84 minutes for 2 years of work. So if you consider that to be something worth supporting, trying to help an independent filmmaker, actually wrecked my wrists at my woodworking job. My left wrist is particularly bad. I can't bend it. I can't put any weight on it. This one's bad too, but this one's like something's really bad. And making a documentary about an employer like this also makes me even more unemployable on top of the autism and stuff. So yeah, please give it a watch. Please give it a try. If you're finding this for the first time, look in the description. And if you agree, it's an important story, or at least because it touches on all kinds of themes that are way bigger than TYT. And, we really need to raise people's consciousness about unions and about what they can do when they stand together and they get over the bullshit technologies of division that the bosses love using on us. So give that a look and a listen. Yeah. And see, this is me trying to give me some money. That's it. Look in the description for the GoFundMe for the trailer, or the GoFundMe has the trailer too, and there's also Patreon coffee donation and PayPal Direct. I also have a Venmo, but I'm trying to do a fundraiser to raise $50,000, and I'm hopefully going to maybe reach out to the Majority Report, and maybe if they'll have me back on to talk about it, to promote it. But I think we're about to wrap up here with the call here. So it's weird watching this to see their reactions to it. I actually quite like I feel much better watching Sam's facial. I mean, he's like a hero of mine too. I don't ever want to work for him because I went and I worked for two heroes of mine, Cenk and Jimmy, and those didn't work out so great. So no, this whole project is definitely one of those never meet your heroes type situations. But I definitely didn't think that when I was sold my business to move across the country to work for TYT, to move to Los Angeles, and my stand-up career, I was 4 years deep in that, but I'd been doing video editing for quite a long time before that, and so I had some skills to bring, but it was a huge deal. I had no idea that I'd end up with this many years later. My beard would fall out, and I'd be, begging for money to help make a documentary about the Young Turks. But I believe the quality of the film stands, and if you want to see the edit, this is tellthetruthjank.com, the website I just launched just recently. Here's the editing timeline. I can't scroll it anymore, but this is a lot of work. This is years and years of work. This is a lot of, as I say at the end here, only cartilage and my future were harmed in the making of this film. So back to Sam.
It's been a nightmare. Honestly, it's a horrible thing I need help with. So I'm hoping to get some attention and some support. So yeah.
What's the website? If somebody out there wants to help you with the editing of that documentary or whatever, or just to read more about it, what's the website that people can go to?
YouTube, winners and losers on YouTube, youtube.com/winners and losers. I also have Patreon. I have support links in my descriptions for every video. But on YouTube, you can find me winners and losers.
Okay.
I show up in the chat occasionally here, and I'm good on the editing. I need promotion and money. You know, that's the help I need from people. So it's a big project, and I'm looking forward to watching Emma on the Bituation Room podcast this afternoon, by the way.
All right. Well, thanks for the call, Hank, and I'll look up and find out where that oil is. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and maybe I can reach out when I have the fundraiser going, if that's cool.
Okay, let us know. All right, bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right, love y'all. Bye. Be safe.
Thanks.
Bye. Thanks.
All right, calling from a 504.
Okay, that was good. I thought that was fun. That was fun. I have a mix of feelings. You know, those when you do that, when you get on air, when you call, and I used to call Street Fight Radio a decent amount, and I developed a decent rapport with Brian and Brett before they had their big split. That was like 2 or 3 years ago now. Wow, it's been so much time. But yeah, I was never really a huge call-in guy. I mean, I did stand up, so I kind of understand. I mean, well over 1,000 times I did it, you know, for roughly 6 years, pretty regularly. So like I had a lot of experience. I mean, I know what it feels like to go through the nervousness cycle of before you go and you do a thing. And I've been podcasting for quite a long time as well. But the stakes for this project feel so immense, and I worry all the time about being sued. I certainly would love to spend some of that $50K on an attorney. I'd rather find an attorney who wants to do some pro bono help, someone who's in the movement, in the labor movement type of person. That would be ideal, who sees some value in just contributing to this weird project, or even to what degree, I don't even know. So there's all kinds of different angles for trying to promote this film. I love talking about it as a filmmaker, as like a documentarian type thing. I still feel a little weird calling myself a filmmaker, quite. It's probably fair. I know you're supposed to make it till you fake it or whatever, fake it till you make it. I've made all kinds of, I mean, I have 20 years video editing experience. I've done all kinds of different types of stuff, but that's a zone where it's more interesting to me to have conversations with people. I hope to talk about like the narrative of the film and the ways that certain things are revealed or not revealed, or the choices that I made in order to tell the story, because it kind of takes a couple of different leaps around the timeline a little bit. That's almost kind of the organic nature of how I made the movie, because I didn't set out to do a full feature film. The NLRB notice showed up, and then that was like, that's got to go in the film, and that added up, and then it becomes this whole thing about TYT's campaign and the ethical commitments that they made in order to uphold their principles that they pretend to sell to their audience. Well, they sell to the audience, but the principles they pretend that the audience thinks they uphold. My working conditions do not reflect that. Right over here to baldontheinside.substack.com. I added the thing here. This is much of like, these are emails that I sent asking if I could get paid for some of the time that I took off. This is the independent contractor agreement, $21.63 an hour. No benefits. Jank screams and yells about paid family leave, benefits this, healthcare that. He doesn't mean a fucking word of it. He went out of his way to make sure I didn't get any benefits, and it's all illustrated right here. While I was called independent contractor, I worked next to people who were called full-time regular employees, and the person who held the role before me was called a full-time regular employee who got benefits, and I was paid less than everybody else per hour. Not by much, by the way. Pretty cheap video editing for Los Angeles. But I have every claim I'm making is backed up with all this stuff. I don't have every single Gusto, but I have all these invoices, all these Gusto records, hiring dates, emails that I'm asking for help. You know, here's me called part-time editor. Like, this is Cenk Uger's real principles right here. He'll call you part-time while you're working, and this is sort of the meat of the thing is, these hours here. Look at that. These are not 30-hour weeks or less. These are 40 hours. Most of them are more than 40 hours. So, back to majority report. So, there's just a lot of there's a lot of potential ways to promote this film. I don't have experience doing it. I want to go on as many people's shows as I can. I know a few people have reached out. I haven't gotten back to them. I get overwhelmed a lot. This whole project I burn real hot. I only do kind of intensity. I'm autistic. And so like I spend my day managing all the energy, bubbling, and the tigers in my brain. That's why I started this podcast. We'll stick with that metaphor, but I spend my day caging tigers. And the cat, as you guys know, a little lore around here. I had a cat. That's what the background there is. Now it's a plant. I'm going to make some TikToks up there about this plant. She was this immense energy sink for me. She was a stray, whatever. But like, so de-stressing with the fundraiser, getting some money, paying my roommate a huge amount of the debt that I owe him. I'm so lucky that he's got my back here. I've far exceeded my welcome. The guy doesn't deserve to be carrying me on his back the way it's been. Weird, all kind of strange. I need some new shoes, honestly. Someone already helped me get some better headphones. That's not these, but that's actually super cool. That's about the most important thing for autistic people who have the sensory issues that I have. Not all autistic people have the same sensory issues. There's a lot of variability within the way autism manifests, because it's about variability of the human nervous system. So anyway, there's a whole bunch of different angles. One of them is like labor issues, Marxist analysis too, like the class struggle, the boss who has all the power, who has all the leverage. TYT is run by a health insurance executive, by the way. That's number 2 there is this guy, Jack Gerard, who in his former career worked for Kaiser, I don't want to say the wrong ones, Blue Shield of California and Kaiser, I don't know if it's Permanente or Kaiser something insurance, but he was a health insurance exec for 12 years. And maybe his employment at TYT, and he's been there like 10 years. He brought a bunch of corporate structural stuff into the company that was needed. Not that that's a bad thing. Every company that grows bigger usually needs to change its organizational structure. But this guy is as soulless as you have to be a health insurance executive. And, you know, you could maybe argue that his working for TYT is perhaps him trying to atone for some of the harm that he caused the world. All of the gigantic ocean of bodies that have left behind him, as is true of all health insurance executives. But the fact that they use like employment classification to deny people health insurance makes me think that maybe the generous theory that I just posited is probably not the true one. I think they're just about corporate monsters trying to maintain control over people. And so Jank did the union busting, and I didn't get into much of the detail with that with Jank or with Sam here. So that was awesome, though. I mean, honestly, that went really well. I went long. I did talk to. I could have gotten right to the point a little faster. Probably should have. I'm going to have to practice that. And I'm going to be watching myself reacting to the Leftist Mafia appearance I did this same week in early February. So look for that. If it's not in the description, it's because I haven't recorded that yet. I'm not doing that today. So let's move it along here.